Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Neil Gibb. And today we are going back across the other side of Australia to speak to someone that's been on a very interesting journey and is a property developer, a coach and mentor, and is now also, which I've just found out, is doing retreats in Bali. It's Mr. Jason John Byron from Think Property Club. Jason, how's it going?
Very, very good. Great to see you again and be around your energy. I always enjoy it, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Appreciate it. And appreciate you coming on and sharing some things with the listeners and myself, mate. I always learn things from these podcasts when I speak to people. You've been a part of my journey. I like to share the people that have been a part of my journey on the podcast, and I've been a part of Think Property Club and learned a lot from you and Amy. So firstly, thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's kind of like having, when you start your journey and you put all these people on pedestals, it's like having that person sat in front of me right now.
Maybe I could just share something with you on that, right?
Go for it.
I've always found that when I didn't have any money, I always tried to get lucky. Always tried to win the lotto or do something like this, and this is a common thing. And then I'm a religious man. I'm a Christian, and I always kind of looked at the Bible and that type of stuff, and I really love the New Testament with Jesus in it and all that type of stuff. And I started putting two and two together, and I realized that the way I increased my wealth wasn't some buying the secret lottery ticket or something. It was just meeting a person that changed my life, and then meeting the next person that changed my life. So I think the gift to everyone is stop looking for the next scheme or something like that. Find the person. I mean, that's what we're gifted in life, right?
Too right. Well, we'll start on that. How do you find these people then? Because like I say, we pedestalize successful people and think that they're out of reach. They'd never stop and talk to us. How do we contact that person? How do we get their attention? And how do we because we know their time is valuable, right? So how do we tick all of them boxes and get to sit down with someone like yourself or myself or anybody that's out there?
Well, really, these days, it's who's the imposter and who isn't, right? And with AI, it's going to be even worse. I mean, I went about it this way, and I think maybe this gives an idea why my coaching style is so different, is everyone knows that I don't try to give you theory. I try to say, let's skip all that. I've been doing it for 15 years. It works this way. Just do it my way. Bit of arrogance in it. But I think that's important from just someone just teaching theory the whole time. It's got to have the legs on the board. And so when you look at someone, you've got to say, before you started coaching people, how many years did you do this for? And I think that's a first sign for people where no matter what industry they're looking in. The same with coaches. Like I'm into cycling, I'm into Formula One, all the best, 10 years plus, or else dedication 24/7, 7 days a week. Maybe they did it in 3 years or something like that. But I think that is where I look to as well. Like I've had a lot of business coaches behind me as well to grow my business and my branding and that type of thing as well. Mm-hmm. And then like we're doing retreats over in Bali, that mental coach as well.
So how does somebody, you say there, how do we get to meet these people? Yes, the coaches and mentors, we can get access to their course. But when you sometimes join these courses, you're in a room with 300, 400, 500 other people and you never really get to shake hands with the person producing or presenting that course. How do we get the retention and how do we...
I don't even know if you really need that. I think sometimes we think I need to talk to this person directly. Do you know what I mean? And really, that's what I thought at the beginning. I need to get really good friends with that person. But at the end of the day, I kind of looked at it and said, what system are they using? I think that's more important. What was the system behind it? And when I train people, I train them on the military system. So this is how I say to them, that there's no team, there's a team, but there's no boss. There's just a person at the top of a ladder. They give instructions down to everyone else, and everyone knows what they're doing at each stage. And the military system, what I loved about it was it's always improvement. So it means that no matter what you're doing and no matter what you take on, whatever lessons, you've always got to get to the end of them and go, well, how do I improve this and make it better? So I think, like getting to me, I've kind of got to a stage now where I'm set myself up and I do the coaching and I just talk to people on a monthly basis. So I say, you'll get me every month. You'll be able to contact me and we'll sit down and talk. But in today's busy world, I also say to them, Facebook. Go to our private Facebook page, put a message in there. I'm not going to see it straight away, but eventually my team will turn around and summarize it for me, and then I can answer back to them. I think that's okay. But you are right. There are systems out there and other ways of doing things, and they've got to have a backup behind them, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to say, okay, I can't get you right now, so what can you do me just as good?
So more the network than the actual one-on-one with a person could be a good place to start.
Yeah. It's like I always compare my business to McDonald's. When I train people, I say McDonald's, they tell you where to go, they tell you the burgers to make, and they tell you how to sell them. So, I mean, really, anything in life, that's what we need to know. Well, where do we go? What do we make? What do we sell? Don't try to deviate off that. It's getting harder and harder, because finding a mentor these days used to be the person with the legwork, and then these days it's kind of like someone does some training for a year or so and then goes, how about I do a course? So, and they might be good, they might be bad, but I would never even attempt trying to teach people unless I'd done it for at least 3 or 4 years.
Let's give some people some context then. You've been in the space for 15 years. How did it all start? What were you doing prior to property?
I was a cameraman, so my job was to shoot people. That was my official occupation.
Is that part of the military?
No, well, I shot prime ministers, I shot school children, I shot animals, I mainly shot football players. That was my main business, just shooting football players. But that's what it was. That's what a cameraman does who uses a video camera, because not film. We don't film people, we shoot people. That was the thing. And then I was shooting rugby league. That was my main thing. And I started that when I was 8 years old, learning what all the other people in my dad's company were doing. Then 14, started being sent out to do my own shoots. And the thing is that I'm a tall, lanky, 6'6" guy, and so I was filming this stuff, and I'm learning everything about rugby league, but I could never do the job, right? Is that right? You can watch that game as much as possible, but it's very hard for you to get there. And then suddenly a guy that rents cameras off us turned around and said, I need you to come shoot this woman on stage. And I said, well, why me? Why would I do it? He goes, because you're really good at following rugby players and this person moves left and right really quickly. He says, I can't keep up with her. He said, if you can follow rugby player, and that's how it all started. But it was the first time in my life I'd actually shot something that I was learning at the same time. And then from then on, I did that for 3 years, got to know everyone in the industry, all the different people in that. And then I sat down with that person. And that was the worst day of my life and the best day of my life, because she told me everything I was doing wrong. And I kind of, okay. And then she said, okay, so, everything you've tried has not worked. Do you admit that? Because you sometimes do something, give another go. I must have been doing something wrong there, but it was just had to admit that I had to do something totally different from what I'd naturally be involved in, which was tech,
So what did she say that you were doing wrong then? And what did you need to change?
Well, she said, you need to learn that you put money into something, you do something and you don't get a result. And then she said that I don't know, Einstein thing is saying every action has an equal opposite reaction. So she said every action you write now gives you a result, and you're going broke. So you may as well try something opposite to what you're doing. You're filming, you're doing eBay stuff, you're into cameras and all this type of stuff. You're not making money out of films, commercials, not making money out of filming. So let's do something opposite, something totally opposite to what you're doing. And that was real estate, what she taught. She taught the tax minimization side and the whole, setting yourself up and trust companies and things, which was great. And then, so I did. I said, okay, I went back and saw Amy, my wife now, and I said, well, I'm going to spend some money on this course. And she said, well, what you're spending your money on right now, it's not making us any money, so it was like, there's another reality bite. But so I just did something totally opposite. And
you spent 3 years shooting this lady.
Yeah.
With hearing it, understanding it, and then she sat you down and said, you need to change. How did that make you feel?
It was good. No one had ever said it to me. Like, that's a thing. And I'm pretty judgmental on people as well. Because I'd come to me and say, I'm thinking about doing this or doing a 10-pack was for my first deal or something. And I'm like, no, you're not doing it. Or they'll go, I want to do this. And I go, is there any proven track record around of that working there? No, you're not doing it. So this is what she said to me. I said, well, I've been doing eBay. I've been doing selling stuff online. I've been doing websites. I've been doing filming. Has any of that worked? No. So that was good. And I kind of had to just put myself in the place and go, I was just trying so hard. See, my dad was very good at never giving up. I was a cyclist when I was a kid till I was 14, and his motto was just never give up, you know. But having that, and my background's Ukrainian, Russian, so it's very much get on the plow, never give up. The problem is, now I don't know about your last job before you got into this stuff, but sometimes you stick in one occupation and you just think, I'm never going to give up, because giving up is giving in. I don't know, what did you do before? Did you ever, were you in the same situation?
I used to work fly in, fly out. And it was a goal that I'd subconsciously set myself to work in a different country as an electrician, because I'm a licensed electrician, and try and get in the highest paid job I could possibly find, which was working offshore. And I remember doing that, and on the first day that I arrived offshore, I remember standing on the platform and staring into the horizon and thinking, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I want. And although I'd subconsciously hit the goal, I wasn't a goal setter at the time. It was just something I wanted to do. I just remember feeling very unfulfilled and needing something different to do.
Unfulfilled. That's what I was. 'Cause I was father-son business. So I just took over Dad's business, or didn't take over. He was still running it. So if we're in a family business, and anyone's in a family business listening, you know you're the last person to get paid, and you're probably the lowest paid. But you do it for love, you know, you do it for the family and that. And eventually one day it'll all be handed over to you. The only problem was that Dad was in a business that was, you know, television business. It was good, it was in need, but people just didn't pay their bills. And it's simple, and it wasn't going to change. It doesn't change, not even today, it doesn't change.
So you got yourself in the right room, you found yourself the right mentor, you paid for the course. What was the first deal that you did?
Well, the funniest thing is, as you'd know, people sit in the room, and normally you get into the biggest rooms first. So you got like 3,000 people saying. I think the room I was in probably had about 500 people, because I got off the camera and said, okay, I'm going to learn this stuff. And I'm learning it all over 3 days, writing everything down, absorbing everything, because I'm pretty good when I put my mind to something. And then that weekend, we started taking action, trying to implement. Where was this done before? You know, where did it work? Both of us, myself and Amy. And then about 2 weeks after that, we met up with people, we went to the event. And we're like, what are you guys doing? We've actually looked in this area and this area. And they're all like, what? We're not doing anything. Like, so many people don't do anything. And it's probably because, as you know, how many people are really in property, you know? Most people just have the steady job. You don't get taught real estate in school. And so it's never ever covered, right? I wasn't taught it. I knew what a real estate agent was, but I didn't know property development or anything, or even entrepreneurship. And so maybe it's different these days, but that was the thing, that it wasn't taught to us. So all our friends that knew me as a cameraman told me, don't do that, because they didn't know what to do. And they only knew me as a cameraman. And so I remember Kerwin Ray, who's a really good mate of mine, passed away now, but he said to me, the reason people do that, when you do change your life and do want to do something totally different, is because they love you so much. It's not out of anything else but love. They just don't want to lose you. So, we just got straight onto it. The shocking thing was, the short story is, I hadn't done my tax returns, subcontractors, so a lot of times you put them off. Amy had just got a new job, so we went to the broker, and, you know, how much can we borrow? I haven't done my tax returns, but surely, you know, I should be okay. And they said about 90,000 between two people in Sydney on close to, you know, 100,000 each coming in, but tax returns, they don't like that, so that was a problem. So that was that's going to take me, you know, half a year to fix all that up. And then Amy, just new job, sure, she's doing okay, but we were both pretty young. So that's what we had. We had 90,000. So we were meant to make money out of 90,000, buy a house out of 90,000, right? And so that was our budget. So we lived in Sydney, in the city, just kept going out further. And then we ended up in Narangba near Wagga Wagga, and we said, oh, there's houses here for this. And then we just put our strategy in. So we said, like, they showed us like 10 places, and some of them had higher rent, some of them were nicer. We were looking for the place with the biggest block of land that we could subdivide, because that's what we wanted to do. And that's where it all started. And luckily it wasn't anything but that, because, you know, the whole story is that we're renovating that place. I'm up on the roof with a tiny 1 inch, not even a 1 inch, half an inch paintbrush, because I didn't paint before. And I went to a local hardware store, said, where's the paintbrush? You pointed there, and I didn't know there was two sides to this cabinet, obviously. So, well, that's a paintbrush, because I'd never done any work in my life in manual work like that. I was a cameraman, but I'm on the roof painting this, because I'm thinking, okay, we both thought painting the roof would look nice because it was all red. And I'm looking down that block of land the whole time. I'm going, what am I on the roof for? Let's get on to doing that. So I got off, and then straight away we did that, and then subdivided a block of land off, and the bank comes back and goes, you just made 20 grand. And so we paid 90, and then we just subdivided, we made 20 grand. So we're like, hang on a second,
right.
There's something in this. Yeah. That wasn't too hard. Yeah.
So was at the start of the journey, were you and Amy in alignment? Like, were you both?
Yeah, 100%.
Like ready to go? Because myself and Joe, there was a little bit of a disconnect with us. Like, I was all for it, and she was very, she was in a good role with work. She had a good job. She wanted to climb that career ladder. So there was a little bit of misalignment with us. I mean, we're fully, side by side nowadays. But were you and Amy the same, or was it?
Yeah. Well, Amy was a designer, furniture designer. That was her thing. And she worked in a design company that sold office furniture, designer office furniture. So that was her thing. So her path was totally different, and my path was filming and camera. So we both this was going to be something totally opposite. She wanted to fund her designs. So she's got a job, how much do you get paid? She was working at the markets for a friend of hers for like $20 a weekend on top of what she's earning. This is where we looked at it and we went, you need 100 grand to do your prototypes. I need 100 grand because I got at least 45 in debt. And so that's where it came from. And then we just looked at this and said, where else are we going to make this amount of money? But there was nothing. Bitcoin was around then.
That
was probably the start of Bitcoin. But there's no seminars on it or anything. There was just this funny thing. But so there was, how else in our limited funding the YouTube wasn't around, nothing like that was around.
So how did we get into deal number 2, and what did that one look like?
Yeah, well, this is where we subdivided it, got a removable house, put it on the second block of land, went back to the bank, and they said, you guys are great. They literally said this to us. They said, you've now got 2 houses. You started with one. You got a removable house, put it in that block of land. We revalued that. You're positive geared. So we never ever paid a cent towards that property. So what I mean by that is we had the one property, and we developed the second property by getting that block of land, subdividing, putting a removable house on it, and then the incomes for our mortgage was more. So the incomes from each one of those houses was more than our mortgage repayments. So I kept saying to Amy, don't you need more money for me? Surely I've got to give you money. We just got 2 houses now. She goes, no, Jason, you don't understand that. There's more money coming in from the rent than the bank asked us. So that was good, that was a good way to set ourselves up. We weren't over collateralized. But then we wanted to do exactly the same thing but make more profit. So then I'm in Sydney with Amy, and I'd actually broken my leg at the time, so I couldn't walk for a year. It was a serious injury. So I'm just lying in bed, and I'm trying to find where that same type of deal would stack up elsewhere in Australia. And then we found it in Brisbane, and I found a deal where the land, if it was cut off, would make $145,000. It was as easy as the one that we did on the roof. Yep. On the roof, I was on the roof, I looked down, cut off the roof, said subdivide that off, there's 20 grand. So this one was the same type of thing, subdivide that off, there's 145,000. And so that was, but we couldn't do the deal because it cost 575,000. And again, just because we suddenly had 2 houses now, but it still wasn't enough for the bank to go around and go, we'll give you $500,000 now. Because we did it so quick, we did it within 6 weeks, that first one.
Yeah, well.
So then we just put out to the community of people, when you do go and sit in those rooms where 99% of people don't do anything, just get all their emails and stay in contact with them. Because we were the ones that were doing something and they weren't. So every time we'd meet up at the pub every week. And they go, and the first thing would be they'd look at us, what are you guys doing? They want to know what we were doing because they weren't doing anything. And they go, when you find something, let us know, we'll give you the money. Because these people, it was either they didn't have the energy for it or the balls to go and do it, or they just heard from us and said, wow, this is what you guys did, it sounds good. And then when we first found that deal, so it was 575, easy subdivide, no one else wanted to buy it because houses in that street sold for 500,000. And here's a house for 575, which is a 2-bedroom run-down house. The rest of them are 3 or 4 bedrooms, not run down, but they're on half the block of land. So this was the beauty of what we do, is that other people don't want this stuff. It's too expensive because they didn't have the skills. And so we went to that group in the pub and we said, no, we got a deal here. Has anyone got 575,000 and about 140,000 in equity or cash in the bank or whatever? And because we don't have any money, we've spent all our money now. We're waiting for it. We got equity, but we didn't really want to do that. That 10 people come back to us, and we just felt awful that day.
Cool.
It's like, how do we pick?
Yeah.
And then if we pick one, everyone's going to say, well, what about me? Why aren't I a nice person? So
Interesting, though. Interesting that you found the deal and then the money came, because, again, speaking to lots of people, they all try to wait until they've got the cash to do a deal, but you found the deal and found the money and did the deal, and that started the journey, really, didn't it?
Yeah, but we still have people today going, I was one of those 10, why didn't you pick me? So we just picked someone that was the first person that came to us. The first email we got back, bang, let's see if you qualify. Easily qualified, went and did it.
So what are the things that we can share with people that are listening to this that want to start deals themselves, may not have the cash, may not have the serviceability, may have a little bit of knowledge? Like, how do people attract joint venture partners?
I think from the point of view is, if anyone out there wants to do this type of stuff and they go, yeah, I'd love to do subdivisions, that type of stuff, and I went and gave them $1 million, they're going to lose it all. So you don't need the money to start off with. The money, it's like you don't know what to do with an opportunity when an opportunity comes. So what's the use of having the money? What's the use of saving up? Where you should be doing is investing in your skills. And a mate of mine, Michael, had a company, it was VoIP, which was Voice over Internet Protocol. It's like where you used to make phone calls over the internet. And I remember he got me to film him pitching to investors to invest in his company and then put it online. So I went there and he stood up on stage and said, this is what the company's doing. These are our competitors. This is Monster. There's only 3 other people out here, but this is what they've done. So his whole pitch was on what someone else, another company. And I'm like, Mike, I don't think you did very good there. Like, you've just basically, why don't you talk a little bit about your company? But all these people were like, well, we want to get in with you, Michael. Monster's gone. They're already flowing. We can't get in cheap. We'll just copy you, Michael. And they gave him all the money. And so I just thought, oh, that's interesting. So that's how business works. And so it was the same with us. We just copied other people's what they've done and then did all this proof. So it had just proof from every angle. This is the people, this is what we would do, this is who we'd use, this is what was done before, like at least 10 examples of what was done before. And then we said, look, we use the lawyers and that to protect us. We don't know 100% if it will 100% work, but everything else, this is the expert that says it will work, this is the expert that says it will work. And so, you know, I teach people that the whole essence to my course is PTR. Proven track record. So we're not going to do something unless it's been done before. But let's not try to. We could do it once we 2 or 3 years in, and then we get a bit, you know, like crazy and a bit cowboyish and go here and there. But for the first few years, let's just copy people.
Nice and slow to start off with as well.
And nice and small.
Yes.
So people say, I find a big one because I get lots of big profit out of this. Even if you only made 50 grand and the other person, to save a deal, made 145,000, right? Even if you just made 20 grand out of that, you now finished a project. You now got one forever line. So you don't even have to be greedy at the start. Simple deal. And then next one can be bigger and bigger.
Yes, because the best lessons come from the execution, because the knowledge is only potential power, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, because you don't want to learn on a big one. And we have plenty of mistakes we made in our first one. In the country, we overpaid 30 grand on services because we just didn't know what we could get a better deal. So on the second one, man, we just got underpriced of what everyone was paying. So, and the big thing in the country there, if you do go to the country, don't drive your dad's BMW X5 because it was a better car than my car at the time, but everyone just priced us heaps.
They've seen the nice car and put the price up.
Yes, that's what happens in the country. And then I said, stuff it, I'm going down to my Commodore, went down to my Commodore and then called out again and then got cheaper prices. So there's a lot of perception with people. And that's the same thing when you're getting JV partners, right? You got to put yourself as a company approach, not as a person. Lose the whole idea as a person. You got to brand yourself and say, we're going to operate like a company. We're going to make profit like a company. I'm not going to take risks like a person. I'm not going to be a mum and dad renovator. We're going to do this like a company would, you know. And then you hold yourself accountable to that too, right? And that's where people go wrong. They just go, and they'll even bring up bad personal habits that they've done in their personal life. As soon as you brand yourself as a company and you go, we're moving forward as a company, you start to do your paperwork better. You start to do your due diligence better. You start to interview more people. So that whole idea of the company mindset will be very good for people that want to, got to pitch an idea. You're not pitching you're pitching the product and the company. And that's what you guys are too. I can see it all over. Where do you stand different is because people see you as, this guy has a company. This guy's going to treat me like a client. And that's what people want to be. They want to be treated like a client.
Yeah, in our early days, we started J&G Property Group, which ended up becoming our property management business because we didn't know anything different. But let's talk about branding, personal branding, then business branding, and how that attracts the right people into these deals as well. Because a lot of people always say to me, how do you get started and how do you find investors and how do you find deals? What comes first, the deal or the investor?
You've got to get the research of all the deals, find one that you would have done, and then get the investor on there, and it will probably fall through because you weren't quick enough. But good, now you've got the investor on board. We'll find the next one. So you've got to find kind of deals that can be matched in a certain area, and you'll do your targeting right. But you've got to have a team behind you. Every company will have a team. It's like, I'm a Formula One fan. You've got the best engineer, you've got the best statistician, you've got the team bosses, and you've got the advertising. So all these people are put together, all the experts are put together. And in property development, you don't need to employ them. They're all subcontractors. So your town planner, your architect, your accountant, and your real estate agent, you don't have to start up a company and employ them all, but they're all there ready for you. And then when it comes from the branding point of view, I always say, if I walk up to your door and I go, look, there's a property down the road, it costs $575, it can be subdivided, and I need you to lend me $575,000 for the property plus stamp duty and all that type of stuff, and then give me $100,000 more if you can, and then we can probably make $125,000. My name's Jason. Can you give me that money, mate? They're going to shut the door, close the door as quick as they can and call the police probably. Some crazy guy outside my house. But if I rock up and I go, hi, I'm Jason from Think Property. What we do is we find opportunities for people to invest in. I just want to let you know that there's an opportunity down the road. And if you're interested, I can give you some data from our company that shows that this particular deal has at least a margin of $125,000 profit. We've got a whole team, we've got a whole people behind us, we've got a whole strategy, we've got all the proofs to do this. If this is something that interests you and you want to know if you qualify or not, I can come over tomorrow and just drop something over to you. You can have a look at it and if you want to deal with our company or not. Because I'd like to work with local people in the area. So here you go, here's my business card. If that interests you, we can have a chat. If it doesn't interest you, that's fine. Maybe in the future you might want to do deals with our business where you can make a lot of profit. Perfect. And they'll take the card and then they'll start to go, but what did I do any different?
Just presented as a business, came across as more professional.
And why do people think like that? So now we're going to get the mindset of the investor. So why do they think like that a business is going to be better than a person? It's because their whole life they're buying off businesses. They're being pitched businesses. And their whole life they've been taught, don't trust people. We all know that you probably shouldn't be trusting businesses. People are way more reliable. But the whole point is that that's what you see. And you've got this share market thing. And even if you're not in the share market, you've been brought up to know, you have this share market. You give money to the person, the business, and they give you more money back. And it's a really good thing to do. But there's no type of thing that we're taught, give money to this guy and hopefully he'll give you more money. So True. This whole business thing is what we're brought up on, right?
So you've done incredibly well doing joint ventures with other people. Started off with one deal, went to two deals, then running multiple deals at once. And I remember the deal that you did, I think was it a 9-pack? That was the one that enabled you to leave your job and go full time.
Yeah, it was an 8-pack that we turned into a 9-pack. We just squished the bottom ones and pushed them up.
That's it.
Yeah, that was good. That was $1 million in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then still do joint ventures today?
Look, we did, we got to a point that we probably wouldn't have to, but we're like, well, why wouldn't we? So we went very quickly to the billionaire mindset. And the billionaire mindset is, what does a billionaire do? They don't work. They don't have a wage. They make a product and they on-sell that product. Every billionaire does that. So why am I doing a wage? I got to get into that if I want to copy a billionaire. And then once they get that product, they can prove the profit margin, they get an investor. They never go on their own. And so this is the whole point about it, is that we will always do JVs. We looked at it the other day and someone asked me a question, so I went through. We've done over 66 deals we're up to now. 66. So we put 66 homes on the market there. over 100 million. And so this is the whole point about it, is that when we look at what we did, is we might do something for ourselves, but at the same time we're doing 2 or 3 for other people, because that's what a business would do.
Yeah. Scalability.
Scalability as well. Or if you don't want to scale, you don't have to either. And if a business can always it's got a value to it. So we could go to the bank and borrow money against our business. Any business turning over $1 million profit a year is not too bad. We've never even ever done that, but we've always got that there.
Yeah, I love it. Let's talk about cash flow producing assets, because I know we're big fans of cash flow, and I know you've had a dabble in the rooming house space as well. Do you still build them? Or is it...
Yeah, every day.
Oh, right, cool.
Multiples all the time, yeah.
Awesome.
Because I think with now what's happening with the way that people live and what we're seeing happening with councils around the place, they're having a huge problem for people being able to just rent places. And so the 1-bedroom places are the highest demographic of where someone just needs a studio apartment. Moving out of home, bang, just need a studio apartment. FIFO worker, security guard, divorcee, they just want one place for themselves, So that's a very popular market. So that's where the rooming houses come in. But the one thing that they don't want to do is they don't want to share with other people. Because most of the time, well, when you're younger, you're 18, you're fine, you get up to about 25 and you go, I've had enough of this. And so that's when you want that rooming house thing. We were the first people to kind of get onto it because, I met the guys when the first ruling came out that you're able to do it. And how'd I meet them? I filmed them. And I sat down with them and we actually helped them out with some ideas and that type of stuff and design and that. And then what we do is we always look at maximum cash flow after you've paid off that asset. And this is where I train people. I say, what's your asset? If you paid it off tomorrow, give me, like tomorrow, bang, you won a lotto, whatever, bang, there you go, paid it all off, what's your cash flow? So if I go, I'll count up my 5 properties worth $1 million each, and I suddenly get a cash flow of $500,000 a year right now out of my $5 million. So you count up your $5 million in property, how much is your cash flow? And it might be $100,000. So this is when it just makes sense that, and it will be the property that you pay off, right? So don't pay off your house. You pay off your house, there's no cash flow. You pay off a rooming house, that's it. You're retired. So this is why it makes sense, right?
It does, but I get a lot of people saying, but Neil, you'll pay tax on that positive cash flow.
Yeah, well, the whole point, I had to think about it like this because I thought that too. But I thought, it's like me surfing. It's like eventually I won't have a job. This will just be do 1, 2, 3, got 300,000 in. So I just go surfing and I get paid for surfing. Where I don't really, do you know what I mean? Like, this is what it will be from a point of view. But I've actually set up a side income there. But do we really pay tax on that income coming in? Because they're set up in companies, so we're paying company tax. Then we've got the distributions. Then we've got plenty of tax breaks on it as well. Depreciation. And then we can continually be in the market, so we can use trust companies to distribute profits and losses. So there's so many advantages to it that cash flow can be used. And if this is our full-time thing, what we're doing, then we can actually use against the profit there just in our daily lifestyle, where you can't do your daily lifestyle when you have a job. But if you're living and breathing your cash flow of what you're doing with rooming houses, everything you're pretty much doing is going to look at another property. So, everything can be going back from there. So there is that side, right? That type of cash flow will end up, you're going to have to at some stage declare it and do that. But it's all about not working as hard, which is what a billionaire does.
Exactly. And you don't need to wake up at 7 o'clock on a Monday morning and drive to an hour to a job that you don't work. Like, that cash flow comes in whether you get out of bed or not.
That's the important thing too, yeah. If something happens to you, and I've been sick many times, then, you don't worry. And it gets down to exactly what we do when we produce a house and we sell it, right? Or townhouse or whatever homes. We're producing a product. The product is making us money. So when you can get to that and that mindset that you're not making money anymore for yourself, you aren't the one churning the mouse on the wheel. The product is bringing in the money for you. You'll get wealthy very quick. So keep your job. That's fine. Jobs are great. They're good, income, good for getting a loan, that type of stuff. But you end up working 3 days a week. And then, you do this on the side. Then you end up getting to a point and you go, I may as well just have my own company, and do this. And then you start to get to a point that you start to see life very differently. You start to treat people better. You start to have better relationships with your family. You're not always looking for the next thing. It's something funny about having cash flow, but you kind of sort out that side of your life.
And it removes that pressure, doesn't it? And that frees up the headspace, and where you're normally thinking, I need this much money to do this. When the cash flow is coming in, you've kind of got it. And when you're developing real estate as well, you've always got cash.
Yeah, the rooming house thing is good. So if you and I went and did a 5-pack, and then at the end we had one townhouse left over that we paid off all the debt, and so that was worth $800,000, we could keep that and we could get rent on that. But we're going to get less rent on that townhouse than we would with a rooming house. So we cash out and we sell it, and then we invest that money into whatever portions we can to get each other a rooming house. And then that rooming house is getting better bang for the buck. And so that's what we've done. I must say we do have a good portfolio of nice, luxurious houses as well. Because that was one thing that we developed as we started developing stuff. We keep one, sell one. So that was pretty good from there. But as soon as we did townhouses, we're like, no, flick that one off. And then do the rooming. So we do 2 for our own portfolio a year. And then we probably do about 20 for other people. And the thing with the rooming concept is that we've got a management company as well, and you do as well. And you know that is your biggest strength, the management company, not the rooming, going out to the rooming, but knowing how to get the right tenant in there. And this is where people fall down, is when they just see some company's got a 2,000 management or something, or 5,000 or something like that, and they don't care who they're putting in there. So that's going to get ruined very quick. Yep. But they also don't know where they're going to get the best clients. So because you've got a management company, you know, those streets are good. We're going to do more there. You know, we don't go there, but that they're too competitive. You know, that type of stuff. And then because you've got the skills as a property developer like me, we know where to buy the land and subdivide it cheap.
Yeah. And you spoke there about PTR earlier on, proven track record. I mean, it all comes down again, selecting the right management team that have got the proven track record that can manage the asset as required and get you the best return.
Having that rental team that we've done, because we started doing the rental team after about 2 or 3, we just saw how badly they were managed. And still today, people go for these big firms and then they realise that they have dramas and problems, and they'll go back there and something hasn't been reported on, something, or they're doing the next one and it's not as good. We had that rental company and we've still got it going today. It's still going strong, always servicing our clients. We say, go with these guys here. Go with us instead of these guys. Even if they do just choose to go somewhere else, they always come back and they go, oh God, I didn't realise how good you were. But the design is so critical. And Amy puts her touch on it, making sure as an interior designer also to make sure it's just beautiful. It comes down to the picture, it comes down to the toaster, it comes down to the TV, the oven, like all these little things that people kind of just skip over. I'll just chuck that in there, she'll be right. Now people want luxury, and so we give it to them, right?
It's having pride in what you're delivering as well. I see some people that are just, churning these things out and they're openly proud about the fact that they don't look very good. Just spend a couple of extra $1,000, make it look good and cash flow producing, and it's a win-win.
The biggest thing I say in the rooming house industry, from what I've observed, right, I think I do a great job, but from what I think other people is they'll go to someone who's spruiking rooming houses. They probably don't even have anything to do with rooming house. They probably have never ever built one, probably never subdivided. They're just the salesperson for someone else. So that was the biggest problem with JV partners too. There's this whole flood of JV partners came out there collecting money on someone else's behalf and getting a comp. It was like, well, that was just awful, the consequences of that. So I see a lot of people going to rooming places saying, okay, I want a rooming house. And they'll say, yes, cool. Okay, we will find you a block of land within 2 weeks and we will put you in there. So they've just heard you say, find me any block of land and let's go do it. So they just find you anything that comes on as quick as possible and puts you in it. And then they don't even care because, so our side has been, I'm not doing it unless I'm going to do it myself there. And then with the rooming houses too, we had a little niche, and I probably shouldn't share this, but I will because I feel like this might make a bit more sense. And maybe Neil, you've got a story about it as well. But the interior design, we found out that in one particular suburb, there were a lot of women, more than men in this area. And Amy went and said, on this next rooming house, which is something we don't do, we're going to put baths in the back too, a bath as well. So a bath shower combo. I went, no one wants to shower in a bath, Amy. She's like, you watch the women. And those are to date our most popular ones and the highest rented ones, yes.
Interesting.
Because it's women want a bath. Like, I'm sure I like a bath too.
Yeah,
but They look at it and they go, there's a rooming house with a shower. This rooming house got a bath, got to step into the bath to have it. But hey, I've got a bath. It's very rare in rooming houses to have baths, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We don't do it in all of them because our rental guys know what the kind of demographic is and who's going to be there. But little things like that, you know.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
That's design.
Yeah. Jason, I know you're very progressive when it comes to business growth and looking at new opportunities in the market. Where are you using AI in your business right now?
ChatGPT, yeah. I thought it was GBT at the beginning. I found a ChatGPT. I don't even know what it stands for. So I use that to be a second sounding board over what I found out. So I go and find a deal first, and I put it in there and goes, what I know, what do you know? And then that'll help me out there. That's about the only AI that we use as such. There's no tool or anything out there that I've seen that, you know, I don't use Archie-Star or anything like that. We just use RP Data because you do need to, you know, the AI, like they say, can only work on information that it can find. It can't work on the sense of, does this feel right or not? So that's a problem when it comes to property development or finding real estate, is that it's got no idea about really what will pose a human in that particular one. We can use statistics. But when it comes to design, AI won't know how to design something the best. And AI doesn't understand cost factoring. And so this is where, you know, these things really can't come. There's always going to be an element. You might be able to, where we'll use AI is just going over realestate.com.au and domain.com.au and finding us deals per our criteria.
Yeah.
Because I buy land, I don't buy houses. So it's very easy for it to scope over there and then give me a list. And then I've got to go over that. And I think we will develop into more AI, but it's that sixth sense of knowing opportunity before it's there, not when it's there. So it can only find it when it's there. So right now the LMR rules are totally changing. So in 2025, new election came around, they promised 100,000 more houses. And they can't do it. Politicians don't know how to build houses. And so they said, God, how are we going to live up to our promise? And then some guy came in who was a property developer and said, you know what you do? Here we go. You don't make anyone angry. You find the train station or the shopping centre. You put a ring around that of 800 to a kilometre. Those people aren't going to complain because they're in the busy areas. You know, they're busy. That's why they're there. They're noisy. They lived it the whole life. Don't worry. Don't go past a kilometre. Pick a kilometre, do a circle around it, then go all the property developers and go for your life. And it's happening in Melbourne. It's called the Clause 55 down there. In Sydney, it's called the LMR. So the low, medium, rise residential is happening in Sydney too. And then up in Brisbane, they already were a bit like that. And now they're picking like 18 suburbs to implement that more in. And that's what we've been waiting for. You know, we as property developers deliver to the need. And you know, when you put the rooming house there, bang, it's filled up. Because you're putting it in a location that is convenience. The thing that, let's see if you think the same way. Maybe you can give me some input in this too, because I'm always learning about the clients too. Rooming houses are people that are on their own, normally. They might have a couple relationship, but they're not married. They're on their own. The person that's on their own is a hustler. That doesn't mean that they're dodgy. It means that it's them that they rely on 100%. So they have the job. They want to have convenience. They're workers. They're not unemployed. They're working. They're hustling to look after themselves. They don't have to think about a family and like that. But if they don't have a job, no one's helping them. They don't have a partner. They don't have a family. This is what I found about them. So they'll work hard, but they want down the road the McDonald's, or they want the Coles and Woolworths.
Convenience. Yeah.
What else have you noticed with your clients? The divorcees and the security guards, does that happen with you too?
We always say, there's three things that we say that our tenants love, and that's affordability, convenience and connection. And the
affordability, convenience and connection.
Yeah. So affordability, pricing the rooms at a third to a half of what you can rent a full house for in that same suburb. Then the convenience, like you say, close to a Macca's, close to the gym, close to the train station, close to work, close to family, close to friends, whatever they class as convenient. And then the connection piece comes through living with other people in a world where social isolation and loneliness is fastly becoming an epidemic. People are feeling more disconnected than ever. So we believe that HMOs and rooming houses give people the opportunity to reconnect with others as and when needed instead of living on their own.
And you don't feel like you're living on your own. That's very true.
Yeah. But you still have the privacy and your own security behind a locked room with all of your things inside that room.
They're very safe too. And out of ours, we've got over 100 of them, never been broken into. Because there's always someone going to be there.
Yeah, always.
And we did go down the DV route at one stage. So DV, domestic violence, there's companies out there that put people in, but it just ended up being more trouble. So it was really sad. Almost in the future, we'd like to do them just for domestic violence so they can be managed and handled. But it seemed like that was just too. We did do it, and then it ended up being a nightmare with the tenant.
Yeah. It's a different ball game as well, isn't it? Like you say, a different style of tenancy that we're not normally catering for, where there's some privacy required as well, and a layer of security that we can't really offer.
Yeah. And I think for single people, especially for the women, we'd be at least 50-50 on ours, right? Is if they're going to move out of home, or they're going to now be on their own instead of around a bunch of people in a shared house, they feel this sense of security being in that rooming combination. They love the idea of that, of just feeling, and they love the idea of not being isolated, not being on my own.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. We've improved a lot on our design as well.
Yeah,
and efficiencies. And we don't charge anything. We just charge for rent. We don't separate the electricity bills, the power bills, the water bills, internet bills. Everyone kind of does, but we just said, look, this works. Let's not change the system.
Let's round it off, Jason, and finish on coaches and mentors, and we'll talk about your role as a mentor nowadays as well. So, who have you had? I know we've had some shared mentors along the way as well. Obviously, Dipping a Borehole being one of them. Yeah. Who else? You said you've got some business mentors that you've worked with as well.
Well, worked a bit with Ben Simpkins. He was quite inspirational. Had a really good book out there, which I really liked. That was more on our social strategy. So we said, look, we need 6 months. We want to build up our social status, as in, the social websites and that type of stuff, and Facebook and that. So he was great. But Kerwin Ray was really someone that I actually didn't know that I knew before. I was like, oh, you're that Kerwin Ray. And I'm like, okay. And then I don't know, there was something that we bonded together really well. Because we were both coaches. So, he's a coach, I'm a coach. So when we went and studied business coaching with him, he saw us as an ally more than just a person, So he said, I'll help you and you can help me as well. But he was the one that said to us some very profound things. And he said, when you have a business, there's one rule and one rule only. What's in the best interest of the business? So that solved the problems between Amy and I in our relationship working together. Because it allowed us to say, what do you want to do, Amy? What do I want to do, Jason? What's best for the business at the end of the day? Man, that just solves every argument for us, if there was to be an argument. I'll say, I want to do this development here, you want to do that one, but what would be working best for the business? Actually, this would be best. I was a deal coming up. We've just been offered a deal. We've just done one, but we've just been offered one. Jason, we're in the first quarter. We just got a deal. We can't look at it till the second quarter because that would not be in the best interest of the business. So we just stick by these type of ways of doing business. And that has been really good. Or when you say, oh, there's a mate that started up his own construction company, should we use him? Well, I want to use him. But it wouldn't be in the best interest of the business.
Solves a lot of problems.
And even our staff do that. Should we refund this person? Should we do this? Should we do that? What's in the best interest of the business? Now we use it for our family. Where do we live? What's in the best interest of the family? Where do we go for holidays? What's in the best interest of the family? What car do we get? What's in the best interest? So that's changed my life. It honestly did.
Did you do, so I'm guessing you did nail it and scale it. Did you do K2 as well?
Yeah, automatically, we did K2 before there was K2.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so, because we kind of, right at the beginning there, did a bit more of it one-on-one with Kerwin. A lot of people didn't get to see that side of him. So there was troubles that he had because he was this person that was so passionate about helping others that probably at the end of the day he didn't help himself enough. And so I saw that, I kept saying to him, man, you should help yourself. Go and have a break. You don't need to be you get the team, but just take 3 months off. He never did that. Yeah. So without him, there's no other business coach that matched his style. Yeah,
right. Interesting. So what have you learned from these other coaches and mentors that you now practice and preach yourself with your students?
Everything we do, like our course that we offer people, it's hard to say it's a course because it is, but it's really just a copy of our system. And so that's how Kerwin said to us. He said to us, look, Jason, be different from everyone else. Everyone else just their theory. You get these big rooms and everything. Don't do that. He said, you give me a whole IP. I'm like, but here's my secrets. This is how, I find this. I got a little secret way I get this, secret way I get, yeah, give people that. And I'm like, well, hang on a second. Why would I do that? Like, hang on a second. I'll teach them something. But do I want to give them my sales, my marketing, my feasibility, my little tricks? How do I find out of my little hacks and all this type of stuff? Yep, give them everything. Because this is what everyone isn't giving them, just giving them theory. They don't tell them about their deal. Very hard to find off a mentor. Give me your last 10 deals that you did. Show me them. What was the address? And they never do it. Probably because half of them didn't work. So no one can say mine don't work because I sell stuff. We build stuff, we sell it. So there's a price that we bought it for and there's a bloody good price we sold it for. And you can see the net in between easily would have covered a build. So there's that transparency, right? And so that's what you do. And that's what we do. We like to say, copy us.
Be the system. Have the system.
Yeah, because it works for McDonald's, it works for Anytime Fitness, it works for Hungry Jack's, it worked for Video Easy when they were around, if anyone knows what that is. Anyone knows what a video shop is?
Video Easy still going?
No, it's not, but
right.
That, you know what it is, but half the
yeah.
people listening here won't know what it is. I'll have to get ChatGPT to tell them. But it's like, instead of you trying to figure all this out, because it is complicated, there's 100 ways that you can fail in this game. We say, it's like a franchise what we offer. We say just copy the way that we do it. Don't try to do it anything different. And if you just copy the way we do it, use even the same people, the accounting people we use, the brokers we use, the builders, whoever, you can use other people if you want, but hey,
why? If
you're copying the people we're using, building the product we're building, doing it where we do it, then why not? And there's got to be a trust in that long term. I know that you have dedicated a large portion of your life to exactly what you do. I know when I hear Neil, I like, that's a HMO guy. And this is when people hear me, they go, that's a developer guy. Yep. They don't say I'm the Reno guy. They don't say I'm the retrofit guy. Yep. They don't say, anything. That's a guy that just says, don't do that, just do property development, forget everything else. And that's where you've got to have a mentor. Not one teaching you 20 different things. Maybe do some education with them, but long-term, focus.
Niche down. So if people want to find Jason and Amy and find out more about how you can help them achieve whatever they want to achieve when it comes to real estate, really financial freedom, becoming a full-time property developer, raising capital from joint venture partners, how do people find you?
Yeah, just Google Think Property Club. It's pretty easy because we'll just come up everywhere on there. We've been around a long time, so but that's good. And we don't have any bad press about us. Sorry, we've ripped anyone off or done anything wrong. Because how can we? We say copy our system, it works. We're not leading people astray. And I think my morals and my background, the way I was brought up, and even my religion to a point means that I just want to do the right thing by people, and I want to be honest, and I want to be correct. I tell people ways to make themselves a company and branding and that type of stuff so that they feel more empowered by that way of doing it. Where even if you're starting out, every company can start out, but that's how you move forward. But yeah, Jason John Byron, Think Property Club will come up.
Beautiful. Jason, thank you very much for sharing an hour with me on the podcast, mate. Really appreciate it.
It's great seeing you again. Now when I come over to Perth, I can hook up with you. That's going to be great.
100%, mate. I'd love that.
Yeah, but we're probably on holidays at the same time that we're actually in each other's places.
Yeah, true.
I think I holiday at least for a quarter of a year now.
That's the benefits of being a property developer, right? And having cash flow producing assets.
And you could do it because you got a good team behind you, right? You do it as well. I got to thank Nat too, It's not me. We've got 10 people full time and there's 24/7 working all around the world with our company. Costs a lot of money, but I just then know that my integrity is always held up. And it's the same with you. People look at you and they go, oh, you're amazing, this type of stuff. But in the background, that you couldn't do 10 jobs. So you've got 10 good people. So
teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
Jason,
good chatting to you, mate.
Thank you very much, mate.
See you later.
Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing.